Sticks and stones may break my bones, but tanks will never hurt me.
Yes.
Welcome to the X-Men Retro Recap Show. I'm Jared. We got Nick, Brad, and Darren, and we're going to be discussing the unstoppable Juggernaut. Brad, take it away.
All right, so the X-Men return from a trying mission on Genosha only to find their home destroyed and Professor Xavier missing. Their search leads them to at first one, but eventually two incredibly powerful individuals, both showcasing their potential to level the mansion with ease. One, a steel-skinned Russian mutant named Colossus that proves to be a rather invaluable ally. The other, an unstoppable foe of immense, magically imbued strength named the Juggernaut.
Ooh. All right. So, Nick, what was your most valuable experience of this episode?
Okay, so I won't take much time to talk about this, but my favorite X-Men villain is Juggernaut. So this was huge. This was a huge episode for me. This is in my opinion, this is one of my top 10 favorite episodes. So I am very, it's tough to find the best part. You know what I mean? It's really tough, but man, if I had to pick one, I'd have to be when they drop a building on top of Juggernaut and he just like gets up like it's nothing. It just completely showcases how powerful this dude is. He, like the fact that nothing could hurt him. He was literally unstoppable. And they made him that way. And they showcased that very well. And they also made sure to say he was not a mutant, which was huge to me. Especially now with all these X-Men movies, who would just say he was a mutant or whatever they've done. It's a huge part of who Juggernaut is. It's a huge part. He is not a mutant, and he does not want to be called a mutant, And so I'm done ranting now. But the thing is that that's definitely my favorite thing about this episode. I love how unstoppable they made him.
How about you, Darren?
Wow. So I love, I've mentioned this in the past when they brought in some of the other X-Men characters we knew from the comic books into the show. The ones were like, well, why aren't they on the team to begin with? So yeah, Colossus pretty much. Wow. Yeah, it's Colossus. Yeah. Very much enjoyed his introduction. I like how he's just moseying along, being himself, not really hurting anybody, just trying to be a good dude. And everybody's instantly like, he must be the bad guy. Let's go get him. And in the end, he pretty much is the difference. I thought that was a great introduction, a fun introduction. I tie that in, of course, with his battle with the Juggernaut. Those two going at it. How could you not like it? Yeah, Colossus. That's the moment, the battle at the end, Colossus and Juggernaut. Yeah, for sure.
Brad?
I've got a few. I'll keep it to one, but I'll try to keep it brief. But first of all, again, Jared, thank you for letting me be the one to do the synopsis and heavy lifting, so to speak, with one of the Colossus episodes. He is by far my favorite X-Man. And so just kind of getting to see him, I don't know what it is, man. The gentle giant characters, they just get me, I just love them. And so he's these guys want to hurt him after he's just done this job for him. And he's just instead of getting angry, he's like, Colossus doesn't understand, and he just kind of leaves, doesn't hurt anybody. Then again, like we said, in their search to find whoever leveled the mansion, Wolverine and Jubilee find Colossus. They assume that this giant metal guy that they just met in the area, is probably the guy. So they attack him, and Colossus dispatches them handily, just easily, and doesn't hurt anyone. He throws Wolverine, but not, nothing huge. We even see what would be the precursor to the fastball special in that episode, where Wolverine says, "Man, he's got a heck of an arm." And I would later come to know what that meant.
I never pieced that together.
Yeah. But man, just seeing Colossus for the first time, and again, that ties into like X-Men Children of the Atom, Colossus is somewhat of a grappler character. That's my favorite archetype of character in fighting games. So I love it all. But just seeing him on the screen and he just wants to help people. And again, I was telling Nick before we started this, so I'll say it now, so I'll say it later. Rogue's family disowns her. Scott's an orphan, so he doesn't have anywhere to go. Wolverine doesn't have any family or anyone that he knows, so he's just kind of like, Xavier is just collecting these broken people that have no other option. And then you've got Colossus, where he's from a place where they love him for what he can do, and he's still like, you know what, let me go be an X-Man where people will hate me and I'll just help. Just a tremendous character. I love him so much, and I love this episode so much. So
awesome, man. Dude, that's cool. Juggernaut is one of my favorite villains. I just like those big, like Apocalypse, Juggernaut, just these big powerhouses. And I think what's so cool about Juggernaut is he is like, you can't stop him. He's totally invulnerable. So the X-Men always have to figure out, what are we going to do this time? How are we going to do it? And so that's what I just loved about the episode, was just they had this guy that they could not defeat, and they had to figure it out. The other part I really loved about this is I like the X-Men episodes when everybody's together. I like the smaller groups. You send 4 X-Men or 3 X-Men in this episode, but everyone but Gambit fought the Juggernaut. They all got together and went for him. So I love those whole team versus the unstoppable, literally villain episodes. What was the toughest one, the excruciating moment for you, Nick, or part of the episode?
This one is easy for me. This one is easy. It would be the fact that Jubilee kept trying to fight Juggernaut. And it was like even as a kid, I was like, dude, like he literally just wasn't even phased, but you're shooting him in the face with fireworks, and now you're acting like you're gonna go toe to toe with this guy. Like
tentacles.
It just made no sense at all. And
good luck, Roman candle fingers.
Right. And like when she's with when she's like, man, I hope we find Wolverine, or I hope I find Wolverine first so that him and I can try and take on, we can take on anyone. I'm like, you mean Wolverine can take on anyone? Like you can't take on anyone. Like and just her whole dynamic in this episode is just like so irritating. Like it's not from me being like a Jubilee hater with, we all have our moments where we don't care for Jubilee, but in this episode, it just felt like they had no idea what character to use at that point. So they're like, hey, let's just put Jubilee in here because we need a lot of explanations for things. And Jubilee is the everyman who can go through and explain everything to everyone. But at the same time, it was super annoying to see her try and fight him. I think she tries to fight him 3 separate times, and all 3 times they're like, the X-Men have to leap in to be like, oh my gosh, the kid's trying to fight this guy, we got to save her. So
how is she still alive after this episode?
right.
How about you, Darren? What was excruciating for you?
Wow, I didn't really I really enjoyed what you had to say there, Nick. Actually, she is, but she's like that in so many of these episodes. But for me, the one that really stuck out a little bit, it's kind of random. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Gambit's my favorite, but Rogue being all floozy like. She's like, oh, let's go get this tall drink, or whatever she calls a Colossus. Let's break him out of jail. And like, I noticed this in some of the other, like, wow, she's I didn't notice it when I was a kid, but I'm like, who is this? Like, she might be a bigger Karen than Jean Grey, actually. I'm not, like, well, so Jean's annoying. That's different. But Rogue, I didn't like that. I was like, you're just gonna, like, you guys are going, you lost Morph, a Beast is locked up. I mean, this was episode 5, and you're just, Gambit's been there for you, and then you're just gonna leave. I just thought that was interesting. Rogue being a floozy. I know that's kind of random, but that's what I got.
All right, Brad, follow that up.
Okay, so my number 1 was Jubilee. I won't touch on it. Number 2 even though, and this is kind of a retroactive problem that I had with the episode, because at first it was just like, man, that Colossus guy is so cool. And then I looked him up and saw his costume. And I was like, why wasn't this in the show? Like, why is he in a ripped tank top and jeans when he could be wearing this, with the shoulder pads? And
Yeah.
man, like it sticks in my craw every time now that, that I watch that episode. I'm like, oh man, just quit.
That was
So I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
never, and the whole show, he never
Right.
got to wear it. Not in Evolution, not in Wolverine and the X-Men. He got to wear it in Pride of the X-Men, I guess, but that was just one time. But I'm
He
with
did
you,
wear
like,
it in Evolution.
but not the 616 authentic big shoulder pads, red underwear.
Yeah, exposed metal thighs,
Yeah, he does.
Even
He wears that in Evolution.
yeah,
It was a version, but it wasn't the exact red and yellow.
Oh, okay. Oh, got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm talking like comic accurate. Nah.
Chef
Got you.
Kiss, Colossus costume.
yeah, it's kind of random, but even in the Colossus's first appearance in X2, we see him in like what, the white beater, the tank top, and the jeans and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that maybe that's a testament to like when they're making that, like, let's go with the animated series version over that's kind of different. Yeah, no, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like, don't do it. I think for me,
I like the costume too. Yeah,
the
for sure.
that Juggernaut is amazing, and I love him, and I've got like a little Juggernaut shrine in the basement of all his stuff. But I hate how over and over in the episode he kept saying, "What's this?" And then he would make some silly analogy. What's this with a diaper? And what, like, I think I counted like 5 or 6 times. Like, bruh, I know you're dumb, and I know that you're the big bully, but stop saying, "What's this? You're gonna baby diaper or baby wets a lot or whatever." I like, stop. But otherwise, that's my most excruciating. But the best part of the episode is when we rate each episode. We give a rating of how many X's. 10 X's is the best, 1 X is the worst. So let's rate this episode. Nick, I think I know what you got for it, but why don't you go ahead and rate it?
Oh man, this is, like I said, this is one of my favorite episodes, and in my opinion, it is one of the key cogs in season 1. Like if you had to go through and pick 5 episodes out of season 1 that are, hey, you absolutely have to watch this episode. Like it's definitely one of those episodes to me. I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9 just because of the Jubilee aspect of that episode. The only reason I'm going to drop it a little bit because it's the only thing that doesn't really make sense in that episode. I mean, I know it's a kid's cartoon, so you have to go through and make it to where things are a little kiddie here and there. I do get that, but it just didn't make sense to have her going head to head with Juggernaut. That's all. And
All
also, there should have been more Colossus fighting Juggernaut. That's the only reason. That's the other reason why it's going to be a 9, because how in the world you didn't have those two slugging back and forth over and over and over is beyond me.
Yeah. All right. We got 9 for Nick. What you got, Darren?
Yeah, so a lot of the cameo, like as I mentioned, I love those X-Men cameos. Well, they're going to be definitely get a little bit higher ranking just because of that. I'm going to go, yeah, I'll go 8 on this one. I'm going to float most of my cameo episodes probably around 8 or 9, depending on the character. But I really enjoyed this episode. You got to give a good score. I can rewatch it, even though I gave it an 8. I don't think for me, I'll rewatch the 8s too, just not the 10. So, yeah, it's not just Colossus. I was so excited to see Nightcrawler on his episode, and then of course Bishop, and then Cable, and some of the others. So, yeah, I'll give it an 8.
All right, so we got a 9 and 8. We're up to 17. Brad?
I have to go with an 8 as well. The absence of his costume, and then Jubilee, and then I'm not the biggest fan of Juggernaut. Like I don't dislike the character, but my first introduction to him was the cartoon, and I kind of thought he was like a big oaf. You know, he's just kind of in the show. You know, he's kind of an idiot, and I mean, but on the plus side, you know, I feel like everyone got to do something cool. You know, Colossus knocks a hole through a prison wall, and then Storm plugs it with ice. You know, like there's really cool things that happen in the episode. And then I don't like how, like, kind of like how Nick touched on, Colossus is just kind of shrugged off by the Juggernaut. You know, Colossus is like, well, here's a car, and then out of the way. Well, here's this thing, and then Colossus actually gets hit and knocked down, and then Colossus throws a tank, and it just breaks in half on the Juggernaut, and Juggernaut throws something else at Colossus, and he gets knocked down. You know, so again, like Nick said, I think that they really should have made it a little more. You know, I do think Juggernaut takes Colossus in a fight, but I think it's a lot more of a fight for the Juggernaut than they made it look like in that episode. And then I also didn't really care for how once they mind wipe Juggernaut, he just gets to leave and walk away. You know, they're like, "We'll see him again, I guess."
Yeah.
You know, and it's not going to be in a jail cell. You know, so I love the episode. I watch it every time. You know, every time I go back through it, I'm like, yes, I can't wait for this one to start. But I want to give it. I think there's a couple notable shortcomings in spite of the fact that it is one of my favorites. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, we're up to 25 points for this episode so far, guys. This is one of my favorite episodes. Like probably maybe top 5 episodes for me. I just love the X-Men beating on Juggernaut and Juggernaut beating on them, and they gotta strategize to figure out what's gonna work. Like Nick said, Storm's throwing a building on him. We got Colossus throwing tanks. We got Jubilee using all the power and all the might that she can from the rooftop, shooting down into the ground. It ripples him a little bit. I mean, it's got all the things. So for me, this is a 10. This is a 10 episode because I can just watch it. This is one where like you just watch it. Like why wouldn't you watch this one? I can watch it over and over and over and over and over again. So this one's a 10 for me. So for this episode of the Unstoppable Juggernaut, we've got 35 X's. Until next time, make yours the M6P.